Let's get started. Let's honor everybody's time that jumped in here at noon. And this is it, you guys. We made it through ATAs in 2020. This is the last one for kind of saying goodbye to this year of ATAs. We'll soon be able to say goodbye to the year. So I know this has been a year of struggle and also some great things learned by everybody. I hope. I just think that everybody has had their own challenges and some very sad times and some very thankful times that many people have had to deal with. So I just wanted to have this last one, give it to Tom and Tim and Leslie and let them kind of wrap up what they've seen this year, any kind of words they want, and kind of what the vision is for next year. Because I think we all need things to look forward to. And a lot of things are looking up now, but we can't take our foot off the gas. So I just would like to have Tom. Tom, you can start this, and Tim and Leslie can jump in. And
yeah, so I don't know about Tim, but I know Leslie's on her way.
Okay. Are you leaving, Tom?
I'm going to mute everyone real quick. So if I accidentally mute you, Tom, I'm
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so Leslie's on her way. She's performing selfless acts, which is not unusual for her. So it's certainly not that she's not doing something. She's doing other things. She's doing things for others. So, which is pretty consistent with who she is. So at any rate, I'm very grateful to Carol for her great stewardship of the ATA program. And as many of you know, as this year has kind of gone on, the ATAs have become increasingly more important from the standpoint of being able to connect with one another, share best practices, and work together to kind of achieve our collective objectives. And I think that this particular format, although it was certainly the origin of it was well prior, and the success of it was well prior to COVID, it is maybe one of the professional bright spots that COVID brought. Was this ability to articulate thoughts and communicate with one another in a meaningful way. So good for you, Carol, for all your stewardship of this program and what you've made it. You've been able to get incredible people. I mean, we could go through the list. We should probably send that out at some point, who the list was each week, but amazing folks that have done incredible things from the standpoint of sharing really good thoughts and ideas. So that's been great. Obviously, it has not been a top 10 year, as we like to say, from the standpoint of the way everybody's felt. I mean, it's just been a tough year. And I think we need to acknowledge that. And it's okay. We've said this on a couple other occasions, but I think it's okay to know that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be disappointed. I want to personally send out condolences to anyone, and I know many of you personally, from personal experience, I know this, that have lost loved ones due to COVID. I think it's important to acknowledge that again at this last ATA, that anybody who's lost a loved one, my heart goes out to you, our heart goes out to you. It's tragic the way this virus infiltrated our community and our country, and it's been tough stuff for sure. And I'm sorry for anybody who's endured illness, both personally or within your family, because illness, it can be taxing too, obviously. And maybe the quiet thing that I'm really sorry about is that people that have faced depression and loneliness, because I know that I've been lonely at times, and it's hard. It's really hard, and it's okay. It's okay to mourn that. With that said, it is what, December the 17th, and 2020 can only do us harm for another 14 days, and then we're through it. So that's a good thing. And I think Carol's right. We need to pivot towards next year. But prior to doing so, I do want to celebrate some of our business successes because they've been plentiful from a standpoint of economic success. And economics aren't everything. I think a lot of us would trade a few sales in for a better quality of life this year because it's been a tough year. But the economics of it have been on the average very favorable, not only for uh, the industry and country as it relates to countrywide, but also certainly in Nebraska and in Omaha and Southwest Iowa, all have had very robust markets, as you know. And I think it's important to note, though, that not every single market or every single part of certain people's practice has been robust. For example, the military, we didn't do a lot of relocation. I mean, for really half the year. So Sarpy County was tougher because we have a lot of military families that we weren't able to move. So that was tough. That was tough stuff, and it reflected. So if you're in a microcosm of the market that wasn't particularly appealing economically, don't feel alone because this was the year of bifurcation in the sense that we had people with breakout years that were amazing, and we had people that struggled. There were people where their years were not good. Some people chose that because they wanted to be safe and they were at risk, which is totally fair and fine. Some people chose that because they had obligations with their family because they had kids at home, totally fine. Some people were just in different parts of the market segment that were affected more significantly by the virus. So I think that we need to understand that not everybody's business was wonderful. So we need to, and there's a reason why. That doesn't make them bad or that you failed or anything like that. This is the year that you kind of get a get out of jail free card. If it didn't work out the way you wanted to work this year, well, welcome to the club. Nobody had a great year totally. From maybe financially they did, but I don't think anybody got to the end of this year and said, "Woo, that was awesome." That just didn't happen. But we did have a lot of success, and I don't know how you guys did it, but you grinded and found ways. I mean, I'm looking at these numbers. I think let's start with let's screen share Eden our the sales numbers, the monthly sales numbers. Hey, there she is. Leslie made
Sorry,
it.
I was
Yeah.
running late, and then weirdest thing, my trunk wouldn't close. I'm like,
All right. Well, you're here now, trunk and all. So,
yeah.
okay. Why don't, I'm sorry, let's do that spreadsheet. Let's do your spreadsheet, the average percent, the sales percentage sales from year to year. Your spreadsheet. She's going to pull it up. But I think that this is really good stuff because it shows kind of the significance of the growth and how and kind of the genesis of the growth. So if you look at the screen she's sharing right now, if you look at that AGR number, that's gross commission income after it's been adjusted for referrals and what have you. And I think it's just kind of interesting to look at the trend lines over the last 5 years and kind of see where it started and where it ended. Every year we've had, incredible increases. And this year has been no different. If you look at the final column, the percentages have gone down, right? Because the numbers have gotten so much bigger. But just like in November, we were up again and I'll focus on November because obviously it's the last month, but we were up another 33.34%. So $2,209,000 in GCI over $1,656,000. So a 33% increase that month. And then October was a 56% increase, 2.7 million on 1.745 million. And then September, a 72% increase, 2,558,000 on 1,485,000. And I think we're tracking for about a 50% increase for December. So that number would be right at about 2 million in GCI, which is ironically going to be about right at our average. So that's pretty amazing stuff from the standpoint of of what you've been able to accomplish in the middle of this pandemic. By contrast, or comparison, I should say, it's not, it's interesting if you, and I'm not going to ask you to change the screen yet, Eden, we'll change to something else. But what's interesting about it is the OABR, by contrast, in comparison, is up about 16%. So we're doubling the average. So sales are up, and we will share that screen eventually. Sales are up about 8.5%, and units are up about 8%. So, you know, and you aggregate those two and you get 16%. So so what that means is that prices, I should say that more clearly, prices are up over 8%, which is, you know, we've talked about this a lot this year. Average price being up 8% in a market like this is not particularly healthy, because we're not an extreme market. We're a pretty tried and true, consistent market. So, I mean, if you look at that over the last 3 years, price increases, if you take new construction and existing and you kind of put them into one aggregated form, that's up like 25% in 3 years, which it frankly is not super sustainable. So we need to be cognizant of the mindset that, you know, we're going to have we could potentially have some challenges moving forward as this market. We're going to talk about how long we think this market's going to go and what have you. But we could potentially have some challenges of getting people out of these houses at some point. So we need to be thinking about that. At least have that in the back of our head. Let's do units comparison, Eden. Okay. So I think this is really telling. So our units are up 26% on year, which is really, really impressive, given the fact that we actually had May where we had units that were actually down because of COVID. So to have units up 26% is pretty impressive. And it kind of speaks to, and if you kind of look at September on, I mean, it's amazing how those units have increased. 58% in September, 43% in October. November, not quite as much, but I think December units are going to be up in the 30 to 40% range. So we're selling a lot. I don't know if this is going to be a total pain in the butt, Eden, but I would like you to put up the graphic that you prepared. That's just that November statistics graphic that we pulled from the OABR. And because I just want to speak to this for a second. So if you look at this, our average sale price, so the median close price is $240,000, which is up 15.4%. So that's for November, which is amazing and kind of scary, right? So that's November on November, means the median price was up 15.4%. So November of last year was 15.4% lower than November of this year. That is crazy stuff. So why did that happen? Well, this particular graphic doesn't have it and aggregates it, but at the end of November, we had exactly 6/10, not 6 months, 6/10 of a month, 2.5 weeks of existing inventory. That means that if nothing went on for 2.5 weeks, we would have nothing to sell. Now that's not healthy, okay? Now what's compelling about that is the market pended 956 sales, only down less than 1% on units. That's units, by the way. That's not dollars. So the dollars will be way up. So the dollars were still way up. Will be way up when those pendings become sales, probably to the tune of 12 to 14% based on the data we have from November. So, and in new construction, there was 2.7 months of inventory at the end of November. Now, let me give you a comparison so you can kind of put this into context. November of 19, at the end of November of 19, we had 1.2 months of inventory. So exactly double what we ended this November at, and exactly 5.4 months of new construction inventory, exactly double the 2.7 we had this year. So to have literally half the inventory, half, and to keep the sales at within 1% of the units, frankly, is math that I can't get my head around. It's crazy how much demand there is. It means people are just grasping at straws and basically buying things kind of no matter what, which is another philosophical conversation for another day. Maybe in January, we need to kind of maybe talk about that a little bit, but it's unbelievable. And so if you aggregate those two numbers, you get 0.9 months supply of inventory. So you take new construction at 2.6 or 2.7, excuse me, or no, 2.6 was right, I think. And then you take 0.6 of a point on existing and you total those, it means that we have about 3.5 weeks of inventory total. And that's down 52.6% from last year. So the reason I wanted to kind of explain this graphic is because it demonstrates the need for inventory and listing inventory. And I'm going to talk about that later, but I want to give everybody else, I want to give Leslie and Tim a chance to chime in. But I think before we end, Carol, when you talk about kind of moving into the next year, I got some thoughts on that based on some things that I know you've been aware of and some economist information and what have you. So, but why don't you pop on, Eden, the let's see here. Oh, the volume. I don't know that we've done the volume graphic, the monthly volume graphic. Yeah, we didn't put that one up yet, have we? Okay. So this is interesting in that it kind of gives you some context about where the business has gone over the last several years, our business, and maybe you can get some similarities or comparisons from where your personal business is at. But you know, we've clearly done very, very well in the last 3 months, up 77% in September, 56% in October, and 31% in November. And we're expecting 40 to 50% in December, which has been consistent because our pending total as a company has consistently been in the 400 to 500 unit range. And now obviously is the slowest time of the year for pendings because January and February are the slowest months. But we're right now sitting at 45 to 50% increase in pending. So last year we were at about 250 units pending right now, and this year we're at about 400 units pending now. So, or actually 240, and now we're at 400. So that gives you a sense of kind of how robust and consistent our business has been. The other thing that I think has been very interesting is that it doesn't appear that we're going to have quite the seasonality that we've had historically, because partially because of COVID, and then there's just very robust buyer demand, and the culmination of those two. I'm very optimistic that our January will be substantially higher than last January. I would put it in that 40 to 50% growth range based on the data points that we have now. And now we're kind of getting the last piece of that, right? Because December 16th or 17th, you're kind of at the end of, we're almost into February now for closings, unless it's cash. So it gives you kind of an indication of where we've gone and where we've been. We had our biggest month ever in July, and then we came close to that again in October. I mean, if you would have told us that this little company was going to ever do, $100 million in any particular month in volume, I would have told you were crazy. But it's been a fun ride, and business is very, very good, and it's a tribute to all of the effort and and all the hard work that each and every one of you has participated in. And, but again, I don't want to leave anybody out here because it hasn't been perfect for everyone. And I want to reiterate that again. There are segments of the economy, and this is the comparison I would use. If you're in movie theaters or restaurants, and I own a restaurant, you want to talk about getting your teeth kicked in. I mean, when I saw the November P&L for my restaurant, I about wanted to choke to death. It was horrific. And so just like that, some people's businesses are more oriented towards, certain segments that have been hit harder. So again, if you didn't have a good year this year, we're going to turn the page. We've got some ideas. If you did have a good year this year, let's keep on keeping on. So that's the way I want to think through it. So at this point, I'm going to pass the baton to either Leslie or Tim, whomever would like to talk. And then I think they can say their piece. And then maybe Carol, we could talk a little bit about next year. And are you muted, Carol? Because if you want to, is that okay if we do that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We
Okay.
have some great things to look forward to next year. So I think that would be an appropriate conversation. So.
Great. Well, Leslie, Tim, is Tim on? Do we know?
Yeah, I'm on here, but it's time for
He's right
Leslie.
there.
She's the one with the
Okay.
content. So.
Okay.
I was gonna
Great.
say, Tim, if you wanted to kick it off, because I planned on talking a little bit about 2020 and a little bit about 2021. So,
Well, sounds good. I actually don't have much to talk about. This is your guys' ATA. The only thing I wanted to talk about was the classes for 2021 and the 100 Days to Greatness. So I know you guys have heard me talk about this in sales meetings a few times, but we're very excited about this 100 Days to Greatness class. This is Brian Buffini's baby. He started with it which is what made Buffini what it is now, was the 100 Days to Greatness class. It was for new agents. Most of you are all existing agents now, so this doesn't pertain to most of you. But I'm just saying that we're excited that this 100 Days of Greatness class has been revamped. It's been retooled. They're making it geared just towards new agents and helping them get off the ground. So it's much more intense. And then the Pathway to Mastery, and then the Advanced Pathway to Mastery, and then the next class. Those are all for the next level of agents, which is the majority of you. So just when you can participate in these classes, they're going to be the advanced class. Sorry. Pathway to Mastery, incredible class. Most of you have taken it. It's really, really phenomenal. And then we just started taking the advanced class, Carol and I. And then we, as a company, are going to be starting a new one in January 11th. Right, Carol?
Yep.
So we're just a couple ahead. It is so good.
So
it is
good.
Really, really good content. It is, Brian Buffini is helping you take your database and go from A pluses, A, Bs, and Cs, and breaking it down into your advocates and your businesses. And it's the next level. So it couldn't have come at a better time. Carol, do you want to talk a little bit about the class as well? Because I know you're just as excited.
Just the same thing. We've been working really hard, but I think the most important piece of this is and Tom and I had this conversation, is we now have a full circle training program that will take you from walking in the front door to exiting the back door. Because we now have this 100 Days to Greatness, which we're adopting as our new agent training, but there's an additional training that we're coming in with, as well as building our training library, which is already very much in being filled up, and our mentor and mentee program has been completely revamped, and then the Pathway to Mastery, the advanced that Tim was just talking about, that starts on the 11th. The 20th, which Tim already said, that's the day of the 100 days. You know, we always watch the first 100 days of anything. You can actually really see what's going to go on. And so we're starting it on the 20th. The mentoring program starts on the 6th. And going forward, we're just going to keep on repeating these classes so that everybody gets an opportunity to take them. Coming later, so 100 Days to Greatness, Pathway to Mastery, Advanced Pathway to Mastery. The next one is Brian is in the process of working on, Brian Buffini is in the process of working on right now is called Team Leader and Builder. And then the following one is called Legacy, which is going to teach you how to put your business in a position to sell it when you walk away, when you retire, when you go on to your next career. So it's a full training program, and we're super excited on it. So
Really great content. Yeah. So thank you for that, Carol. And yeah, so then going back to the videos that Carol talked about, we're recording more and more of those, and we're going to be reaching out to more of you, asking you for your help. So we're filling that database of videos. So Nevertheless, that's all I had to talk about. I want to hear Leslie. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that was going to be part of it too, is that, we're shifting so much in our training that, we kind of were very heavy in the spring with things to do and trainings and Zooms and adapting to what our climate was. And I give everyone kudos because it was such a crazy time, and we're not at the end of it. We're out of the biggest part of uncertainty we're out of. And so we now can anticipate going forward into 2021. But piggybacking on the training aspect of it, that is part of our 2021 plan. And so you kind of saw we were in, pre kind of virtual world, we were in kind of a training, I don't want to say rut, but a kind of a consistency. We needed to freshen it up. So this actually gave us the opportunity to take a step back and go, okay, what can we add? What can we change? What can we tweak? And so we kind of lightened up this last fourth quarter and in the summer too on our Zoom trainings, because we talk about it a lot. It's Zoom fatigue. It's not the same as in person. And so we've been talking about how to shift into an effective learning style virtually versus Zooms, where we do have a tendency to zone out, or we're looking at the dishes that are in the sink, or we get a phone call, or we remember something we're supposed to do. So it's a lot easier to be distracted on a Zoom. And so that's where Carol and Tim have been working really hard on getting the mentor program really buttoned up, and also getting these video libraries available as well. And so our typical kind of in training or in classroom training would be a lot more conversational and a lot more interactive. Well, that doesn't translate to Zoom. So the trainings that we had weren't as effective or really as valuable. And so in shifting to more of a virtual library, we can break it up into smaller chunks, and then we can teach differently as well. So we can teach to the highlights and the points and the things that you need to learn, so that you can, rewind, fast forward, skip through parts that you don't want, instead of watching a recorded Zoom about something that the conversation starts going in a different direction. So we're tailoring and tweaking what our semi-virtual world will be, and then looking forward in 2021 to getting back in the offices. So back together, whether it's a combination hybrid of having, a handful of people in, or as many people that we can do safely, and then also having those streamed and then added to the library. So you have more of your informal kind of talking points, conversational trainings, and then you have your very specific, here's how to do X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. So I'm looking forward to that, because I think it's going to really make our trainings and the value to you a lot easier to get access to. But the other thing I wanted to point out is that we've done quite a few different things this year. So between our kind of crazy March and whatnot, we pulled off 2 all company pop buys, which was fantastic, because that kind of gave us all a really good kind of back together-esque, because we'd been doing all of these group Zooms, but again, it's just not the same as being in person. So we were able to pull that off, and now we can add it's like we did that, now we can use that. We've got that in our back pocket. We don't have to recreate it. So a lot of what the brokerage has done this year is recreating what we have in place to adapt to what we need now. So there's been a lot of work on the back end, and I really want to commend our staff for being flexible and still having positive, upbeat attitudes during everything, having to shift on a dime, or having at the very last minute to be thrown into something that we go, all right, well, we need help doing whatever it is. So I really want to thank the staff for that could have made or break our overall experience had we had not such great people in place that we're having issues. So anyways, I just want to thank the staff and everybody kind of involved in that. But I want to talk a little bit more about 2021. So going into 2021, we've been doing a ton of planning. So I have kind of dubbed next year as the year of the forms. So nobody freak out, everybody pay attention, nobody freak out when I say I'm going to organize dotloop, okay? That doesn't mean anything's changing. I saw a lot of people's heads pop up and go, don't change it. We're not changing anything, no processes, no nothing, everything will stay the same. However, we are going to be going through all of our forms and making sure that they have a consistent look and feel, making sure that every single form that we have, it has the seller on one side and the buyer on one side, and it has where the autofills are up top and how the top of the actual intro is and verbiage. So it's a really big undertaking. It doesn't necessarily seem like it because like, well, just, add here and reformat and whatnot, it's fine. But it is a very, very, very big undertaking because we have to recreate the form outside dotloop. One, we have to find the original form because when we were first going and we needed forms, we were just kind of creating them on the fly. And sometimes they'd be on somebody's desktop, sometimes they'd be in our Dropbox file collection, and sometimes in Google Drive. And so we're getting all of that reorganized, and it will be a process though. But again, we're not going to change anything. We might make things easier to find and have either labels or rename some things, but we are going to be updating the listing agreement, which we already have in hand. We're just kind of waiting for the new purchase agreement that's coming out. So there's a new purchase agreement that the OABR is putting out. I don't have an ETA on that. It was supposed to be the end of this year, but obviously we're here and we haven't heard anything about it. So I'm probably guessing end of first quarter, maybe second quarter, end of first quarter if we're lucky. But they have taken both purchase agreements from both Omaha and Lincoln, kind of those standard uniform, and they have taken all of the different pieces from each one and then adapted it into one universal for each market. So there are going to be some changes. So we're going to have to get used to kind of where things are and aren't. Specifically, I think the biggest one I saw was in regards to inspection timeframe. It'll be more of a due diligence timeframe instead of an inspection timeframe. So you'll have time to do the inspections without having to list them in that, when you first put the offer in. Anyways, we're going to redo, we have the home inspection contingency removal about ready to go. But again, some of these we're waiting on what the verbiage is from the purchase agreement so we can make sure that it does stay in line with, with how the new purchase agreement is going to look. So we have seen it, and I think that they're doing some more edits based on broker input. And so as I get more information, I'll be sure to share that along with you. So along with forms, and again, nobody freak out, we're not changing anything in dotloop, but it is going to be a lot easier to use. So if there are forms that you use on a consistent basis that we don't have, just let us know. I think we've pretty much built up a good forms database, but we'll be tweaking and changing things slightly here and there. And that's also in regard to how the autofills go. So making sure that all of the autofills are correctly populating where they need to be populating. So we'll be working on that. The other thing is that we're focusing on more pieces that you guys can use when it comes to marketing. So Audra is going to be building a library of sorts of pieces that you can use. So that could be anywhere from open house flyers to listing presentation add-ons, social media posts, all sorts of things. We're going to be coming out with those on a regular basis. And I'm talking weekly. You might have 3 social media posts that you can choose from to just kick onto your Facebook, your social media. And Canva has an option to create templates. So you won't have to have those as just generic pieces that look the same as everyone else's. What you can do if you are a Canva user, you can go straight into Canva. You can add your logo, your name, your information. You can tweak it slightly if you want to make it different from what everybody else might be doing, but it just gives you all more frees your time up and your creativity up so that you can use it in other places in your business. And so we're committing to making sure that you have all of those things at your fingertips without having to recreate them all the time and in an easy way. So we have that. And then I'm probably going to jump the gun, but we are going to be doing a newsletter so that everyone on a monthly basis can have access to a newsletter that we've created in Canva that you can tweak and edit and update yourself. So again, a lot of just, it doesn't necessarily have to be used in its exact way, but the great thing about having this template option, which is new from Canva, fairly new, is that you can make it your own. You know, before it was, well, I don't want everybody using the same thing, or I don't maybe like this piece of it, but I'm kind of stuck, or it takes too long to kind of go back and forth. So with this, you can add or tweak however you like, but the content will be there so that you don't have to spend time thinking about what to talk about when it comes to freezing pipes in the winter and what to do and who to call, right? So we're going to be doing that. I don't have a launch yet on the newsletter piece, but the marketing pieces, those will be going and starting in January as as she's actually already building all sorts of things for it. So the other thing too, I kind of alluded to is the getting back in person for trainings and events. So we are looking forward to getting in touch and seeing everyone. You know, Tom and I have been doing these business planning classes, one-on-ones, and it's been fantastic. It is just getting a feel for your guys' business and catching up on what your life is and where you're at and the successes that you've seen over the last year is wonderful. And I miss seeing you all in person. So I'm going to do a shameless plug. And if you haven't booked your business planning with Tom or I, or either one of us, then get on there, book it, and get the time set. But we're already talking about what we can do in 2021 as things, and I don't want to say open up a little bit more because we're kind of already there, but we're not really at a big comfort level of big gatherings. So there's still that aspect to it where we still have to wear masks. We still have to social distance. We still have to be very cognizant of what we're touching and wiping down and using hand sanitizer. So we want to be sure that, you know, as we're creating some of these events and get-togethers, that we can do so in a very specific way. Now that we know what the actual landscape is, we can plan better. You know, we were all kind of just thrown into everything this year that we had to make it up on the fly. We had to just basically throw every other project or thing that we were working on out the window and be constantly talking about, okay, what value can we provide to the agents next that isn't just a regular Zoom? And it's really hard, you guys. It is so hard to come up with things that get that same level of excitement and encouragement and inspiration on a Zoom than it is in person. And so we've been trying to be creative as much as humanly possible within kind of these guidelines, but now we can plan. And now we can see, all right, what does June look like? What is that going to look like? And what do we want to do and provide as a company? And how can we take some of those things into consideration as we plan get-togethers and as we can actually see each other and what that looks like? So there's a lot of conversations that we've had on the background that are really strategic. This year has been a lot of meetings and talking and strategy so that we can still continue to provide as much value to you as you need, just in a different way. So I've kind of gone on a little bit of a tangent because that's just how I roll, and who knows, my trunk might actually be open in the parking lot. We're not sure. I don't know. It seemed to close, right? But just wanted to kind of go over some of those things and then talk more specifically about some of the tools and things that we did in 2020, and then kind of what some of the things we're going to be launching. So 2020, and forgive me, it feels like it's been eons ago, but we did get the conference room, iPad scheduling. So that's helped with a lot of things. We had Apex, which a lot of you joined and we were able to provide. We did the Better Homes and Gardens magazine matching program this year. So we had a lot of fun with that, and a lot of you utilized that piece. I'm trying to think, what else did we do this year, you guys, that Justine, what am I missing? I feel like there's a big chunk of time. I think during March we were launching kind of so many things all at once. We did the PPP money. We did all that. You guys were able to take advantage of all that money, government funding for small business when there was such an era of uncertainty. So there's still been some things that we've been able to implement to help you guys grow. And as the numbers show, you're still all killing it. I've heard people say that this is their best year ever, or their best months ever were coming right out of when we were in mostly lockdown. So it's really great to kind of see that we're still able to thrive in this. And now we can adapt to what your business looks like with your clients moving forward. The other thing that we're going to be doing in 2021 when it comes to tools and pieces and things is we're going to be launching, and this is actually coming very, very soon. So it's actually going to be an 2020 thing, but we're going to be doing surveys to your clients as a brokerage. And so they'll get an automated survey from us that asks about their experience with you and the brokerage. And then you can take those, you'll have a dashboard and you'll be able to send those directly to, say, Zillow, or I think realtor.com, Zap, it'll post directly to that. So there's some platforms that you'll be able to utilize when it comes to reviews. So we can take that off of your plate and let your clients have the reviews sent out right away, and there it is. The thing about that is, though, too, is if you're not super thrilled about having a survey go out to your client, the good news is it's coming from us. And so there's not a pressure to fill it out. So if they would like to fill it out, great. And you can always preface this with them too. Like, my company's going to send you out a survey, feel free to take it or not, because then you can still do your items when it comes to getting reviews. So some people like to do them a couple of times a year and do giveaways. Other people like to maybe do it a few months after closing so that they can give their clients a breath. So it's not taking away from the reviews that you can get and reach out to your clients. It's just adding another element from the brokerage standpoint to help you get reviews and take that piece off of your plate. So that'll be, I kind of alluded to it a couple of months ago, but when I have a little bit more information, you'll be hearing from me about how that program is going to work and look and when it goes live. And then there's a couple of other pieces that we're looking into when it comes to kind of the greenhouse tools and training. So the greenhouse launched, or Better Homes launched this year, a new social marketing tool and the marketing center. And while I do love both of those things, I still think that they're very new, and so that content is still being added. So I haven't really pushed on getting into that marketing center because I feel like there are still some items that they could be adding in order to make that experience worthwhile for you to go and figure it out. So I'm keeping an eye on that to see how that evolves and make sure that the content is going to be there for what you need. So the marketing center pulls your listings into so that you can automatically just create really quick open house listings, social media posts, emails, whatnot. Now, the benefit to that is that it is automated, so it pulls the data in. The disadvantage of that is that it's not as editable as a Canva template would be. So I might teach them in conjunction with one another based on each individual agent's preference or what specifically they're looking for. Now, the social media tool I've talked a little bit about, but in that there is a way for you to schedule your posts. So if you've been taking any of my business planning classes, or saw my bonus tip on sales meeting, I talk about batch creating content. So doing everything right now when you're slower for all of your holidays and all of your scheduling posts, anything that you do every single time, just do it all at once here. Just do it once, schedule it. Canva has a scheduling tool. The greenhouse in that social media, that has a scheduling aspect of it. And there's also a lot of really cute graphics and things that you can use in that. So you can use all sorts of little, moving ones and video ones and share directly from there. So those are just a couple of things that are kind of on my radar as we're kind of going. So I'll be kind of sharing as I get more information, or as I feel that it's at the point that it's useful for you. So kind of on our end, there's always a lot of tools that Better Homes has to offer, but On this side of it, me personally, if I don't know it inside and out, or if as I'm playing with it, it's frustrating or it's hard to use or there's just something about it, I won't push it out to you guys because it's not worth it for you to have a level of frustration on something that you thought was going to be one thing that's now another. And that's also why we don't really push you towards the greenhouse trainings per se, because there's such an individual element when it comes to training and how to use those tools that I think that it's more beneficial to either come from us or for us to vet that enough so that you don't have to sit there and figure it out. So that's kind of what I have for 2021 on my plate. Justine, if I'm missing anything, just, let me know. Also, Carol has a really great ATA topic list right now. So if you have any topics that you would either like to teach or hear about, then send them our way and we're happy to evolve. And that's not even ATAs. So if there's a training that you'd really like to have that the brokerage would provide, send them our way. We're always up for suggestions.
Well, and Leslie, to that point, we've said it before, but if you guys think that somebody else within our group does something really great and you think that they should share it, well, let us know. We'll approach them and ask them if they want to do an ATA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're going to be coming at several people because we now have this huge list. Like it's a huge list of ATAs, but we're going to prioritize. So January is going to be some things that should be prioritized to January. But I'm going to be asking many of you, and I just love the generosity that you all have whenever I ask you, even if it scares the crap out of you. To be able to come forward and help us with these ATAs, because that's where we get the content. The content is like I look at every single one of you as like the best watermelon in the world, and then we take the heart out of it, and it's just that's what you share with us. And I don't think it gets any better than that. That's why we are the Good Life Group, because we do share it all. So that's where the content comes from. It's not me. I mean, I just, I'm the one that just asks and brings it forward, but it's all of you. And without all of you, we're not who we are. So that's gratitude for this last year of just coming forward and giving us the best of you. I can't even believe what all you have done that, for everybody else. So one win, we all win.
One other thing I forgot to mention is that there will be a new, Zap is being replaced this year coming up. So there will be a new platform completely. I will be hands-on when that comes in. So you better bet that I will know that thing inside and out before we get to launch day. And I will be keeping you updated as much as humanly possible. They said mid-year, but they were thinking that it was going to launch at the end of this year. So I don't have an ETA, but I would say possibly mid-year.
Are they still calling it Zap?
They have I think they're filtering that out. So they're calling it one thing and then they say Zap evolved type deal. So I think that the name Zap, we will not hear one after this is launched completely. The new platform is actually provided by Real Savvy. So it's actually, that company has been doing real estate websites for a very long time. And I had the chance to be on a focus group about what agents need in regards to their platforms. So I'm kind of in the thick of it when it comes to the websites and our CRMs, because it is really important to me that you guys have something that is functional and makes your lives easier instead of harder. And so I like to be in those places where I can help ignite some of those changes to better your experience.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
I think the best way to maybe think about it from the standpoint of, I think they've used Zap 2.0 and they may or may not use that terminology because it frankly has had a bit of a negative connotation. So they probably are going to evolve on that. The problem with the platform as it currently sits is that it's not open architecture. So it's closed architecture. So the problem is it's not, so in layman's terms, it's not customizable, which has been an impediment from the standpoint of being able to uh, provide the greatest value to the greatest number of people. That open architecture and outsourcing it with real savvy and being more mindful of the opportunities that exist outside of their four walls, I think will afford us all a much, much better platform. But to Leslie's point, she will, in her fashion, make sure that she's vetted it and that she has a fundamental understanding of the way it'll work before we, go through it. But we are very optimistic that it will be an incredible resource and something that we really could use. So looking forward to that. Couple more things just real briefly about moving forward. Carol had asked to discuss some things about the 2021 environment and what we think will happen. We have every reason to believe in this low interest rate environment that inventory will remain low next year, and that sales will still increase. So the national averages that NAR's putting out, that Lawrence Young, he's suggesting that there's going to be increases in sales in the neighborhood of 3 to 5% nationally, and we're expecting 2 to 3% increases from the standpoint of price. So I think it's reasonable to assume that the market could be 8 to 10% even better next year than it was this year from the standpoint of sales volume. Of course, lots of things can happen. There's no guarantees. And what I always tell people is we can't control the aggregated market, but what we can control is getting our disproportionate share. So what I would suggest in that regard is one thing that we want to be cognizant of, and one thing that we're going to roll out in the first quarter, is an aggregated strategy to create inventory. And so when I say create inventory, it means strategies like the following. So you guys have heard kind of on a national scale where companies are trying to create lots of buyer networks from the standpoint of getting lists of buyers. And then the idea is that they'll sell them to listing agents, because then the listing agent will go to their book of business and try to put people together. So that's going to be a big push this year in this low inventory market. We've got some ideas that we're kicking around and strategies that we're going to roll out in the first quarter as a company to try to create inventory. So one of the things that I think that everybody should be cognizant about when you're thinking about your business is, what is it that you could do to create inventory? Okay, well, so some fundamental examples of how that can happen. We have the benefit of our relationship with Meredith from the standpoint of the data mining with the Pinpoint product and the Pinpoint opportunity. Well, just listed, just sold are going to become even more valuable. So for example, if you went to a potential seller, and within your sphere or outside of your sphere, so both warm and cold, and you said, listen, have you refinanced? And they said, well, no, I haven't refinanced because I've been thinking about selling. Okay, you haven't refinanced, so you're interested. Let's say their interest rate, let's say they bought 4 or 5 years ago. Let's say their interest rate's 4.5%. The interest rate could then be, in today's market, let's say 2.25 or 2.5%. So if we told them, hey, listen, you can take $100,000 off the table from the equity that you've built in your house in the last 5 years, right? We talked about 25% over the last 3 months. What if I told you that you could buy a house that's $100,000 more? You would have tons of equity from the equity that you have currently in your house, and your payment would actually be the same or go down. Would you be interested in that? So the fact that we're not doing that, or the industry isn't doing a better job at doing that, is a missed opportunity. So instead of creating listings or waiting for the phone to ring, or just working our sphere, or just trying to get referrals, which is wonderful, right? Don't quit doing that. That's good stuff. But we can create inventory even within our sphere. So we can create sellers that don't even know that they're sellers, because they don't know the economics or the environment. And so that's an incredible opportunity to pick up 2, 3, 4 units based on what you have. So it's leveraging your current listings, it's leveraging your current relationships, and then it's going above and beyond to try to get those particular homeowners that are in neighborhoods that are in conjunction or in proximity of the houses that you already have listed. And if you could tell somebody, hey, I just sold this house for $250,000, It sold for 210,000 3 years ago. They got 250. They rolled their 40,000 in equity and they just bought a house for 300. And oh, by the way, their interest rate was 2.25 and their payment was exactly the same. And they've got another bedroom for their kids. That's a compelling argument. And so we need to be thinking about ways that we can create inventory. And we need to be thinking about listings. So when you're done thinking about listings, I want you to think about listings some more. And when Santa comes down the chimney after you're done, I want you to think about listings, more listings, because it's literally like getting blackjack every time. In our market, we're one of the few markets in America where you get paid 3.6% theoretically compared to 2.4. Most markets are 50-50. So it's absolutely the truth that listings are where it's at, 100%. And this market, as we all know, it can take as much, in a normal market, it maybe takes three times as much time to work with a buyer to sell a house than it does a listing. We are estimating at this time during analysis that we've done that it is taking 5 times the amount of time with a buyer than it is with a seller. So if you start thinking about return on your time and return on from the standpoint of the economics of that, from the standpoint of getting paid 3 to 2, from the standpoint of having it be 500% more efficient, what should we be spending our time on? So that was one point that I wanted to make, is that we're going to have a big push on listings. Okay, we're at our hour. I need to shut up because I probably talked too much already. But I really appreciate it. Parting note, I'm so grateful and humbled by, and I don't know that we'll be able to talk aggregated. So just for a moment, I just want to tell you that we are all so grateful. And I'm grateful for our staff. Leslie pointed out, I'm so grateful for the great people that I get to work with every day from a staff standpoint. All of you, I don't want to isolate anybody because you're all wonderful. And more importantly, wonderful people. And our agents, I get compliments again every day. What wonderful agents we have. So smart, so capable, such big hearts. And I guess my greatest joy and my greatest sense of satisfaction is how good you are to one another. And I just have, that gives me such pride. So I couldn't ask for a greater, I pinch myself. I've been saying it for 5 years. I pinch myself every day on a personal level. I am so thankful for all of you, each and every one of you, for your contributions and for making my life what it is, which would not be possible without each and every one of you. So it's not about me, but I just want you to know on a personal level, thank you. So that's all I got. Carol, take it away.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And we also, and I think everybody would raise a glass here if they had one in their hand, are super grateful to you and Tim and Leslie for keeping the doors open. I mean, we're a business that kept the doors open all year and nobody got laid off, and we kept the music going, and it's all because of you and Tim and Leslie and the whole staff of people who are really committed to all of us taking care of each other. And without that, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm not sure I could have made it through the year without like throwing myself off the roof if I could get up on a ladder, which I can't. So really appreciate you guys, and from the heart. I'm actually really excited about 2021, no matter whether we do it from the inside or the outside, or on Zoom or whatever. We got this. I really feel like all of you have it. We've got it. If you don't have it, we got you. So there's nobody you can't reach out to and get what you need. You don't even have to ask for it. Just reach out. We'll figure it out. So thank you, everybody. And I look forward to seeing you all in January, almost every day from all the classes we have scheduled. So it's going to be fun. So thank you for all your kind words. Okay. Bye, you guys.
Everybody.
Love you all.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.